Chapter 58 starts off with 2 panels from the last chapter showing the return of Kumayuri and Chihiro's reaction to it, but then it immediately cuts 7 minutes earlier, and we get to see the Eastern Gate and Shinkutsuji. And there's some dialogue between the Makizumi ninjas and Hakuri, and they're basically just thanking him for bringing back Tobimune, basically effectively saved their lives. And they're also telling him he should get some rest and whatnot. But if you look at the blue line, I really like the eye flow in this page. I mean, I think Takeru is like incredible at eye flow, honestly. But it goes from the top right, where you see Hakuri, curves down to the left, and just follows that straight line basically all the way down to the bottom of the page. Kind of like a hook shape, but it's really effective. And then on the next page, we see like everybody's falling down. And I just want to point out real quick the eye flow. If you just look at these blue lines, I segmented it, but those straight lines, like straight down, you get that sense of falling while the characters are. I mean, it's really simple but extremely effective to get you kind of invested in the story while you're reading it. Those are the kind of things which make you forget you're like reading a manga. Sometimes you'll be reading it and you get so invested, it feels so real, it's more than just the pages. And it's techniques like that which help you get so invested in it. But everyone falls down, then we cut to the next page, which is a super sick shot of Mr. Samura and Uraha. And you see all the feathers in the air, and it's pretty obvious that Mr. Samura is the one that has caused everyone to pass out. And Uraha is asking him what this is all about. But if you look at the red lines here, I marked out one of the vanishing points. It's a nice little 2-point perspective, and you can see all the lines converging. Then if you look at the red lines on this page, or I guess it's the same page, but you know what I mean. But look at the red lines here, it points to another vanishing point, which is way off in the distance. A little nice zoomed in 2-point perspective, slant angling. Then on the next page, Uraha and Mr. Samura begin to talk. Uraha says, "Have you gone mad?" And Mr. Samura essentially says, "Hey, the problem is bigger than just recovering all the enchanted blades. That wouldn't really solve anything. If that were the case, Rokuhiro wouldn't have needed to keep him locked up after the war." And also, I really like this panel, seeing this from like through the bars. I call these like fly on the wall shots. Just any kind of panel with a distinct outside perspective. I'm not sure what like specific, if there is like an actual terminology for it, but that's what I call them. And I really like this one. It was similar to one a couple chapters ago, 1 or 2 chapters ago, with Chihiro and I think Hirohiko. And you're looking through them like through the armrests on the chairs in the theater. But also, all the while this conversation is happening, Hakuri is still conscious and he's hearing all of this happen. But Mr. Samura continues and he says it's been 18 years since he's last held Tobimune, and that if he's going to wield the sword again, he must root out evil and protect the weak. And Uraha is kind of just agreeing with him. He's like, yeah, that's why you need the sword to fight the Hishaku. They're the evil we need to root out, is what he's basically saying. Then we get the reveal on the next page. And Mr. Samura says, there is an evil, a far greater evil than the Hishaku that must be punished, even if it takes working with the Hishaku. Then we get 2 little reaction panels of Samura and Haruhaki like, what? Colluding with the Hishaku? And Mr. Samura says, I'm talking about us, the sword bearers. 18 years ago, we covered up the crimes that happened. And my reaction just like, I mean, I'm not surprised. I think this whole story is kind of talking about the complex qualms of war, so it doesn't surprise me that the heroes aren't necessarily heroes. But I wasn't really expecting Samura to go like the self-vengeance route. But he's talking like, Rokuhiro and the rest of us were called heroes, but because we buried our crimes, and like the society never really knew the truth. And Mr. Samura keeps going on, and he's like, and then these youngsters are dying. They're protecting us from the Hishaku, and they're putting their lives on us. They're putting their lives on the line for us, is what he's saying, even though they don't even know the truth of what happened. And then there's this really cool panel showing the 4 other sword bearers, and Mr. Samura says, all 5 sword bearers, including myself, will die by my hand. And just, I mean, it kind of just, he put it very bluntly. And I guess Takeru is kind of setting up. I don't know what he's setting up, honestly. Like, I have no clue. This story could go in any direction, and I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe Samura goes back to the Kamunabi's side. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he works with Hishaku and then dies eventually. The Hishaku kills him. Honestly, I have no clue. This story could go anywhere. It's still early on, and there's no way to predict it. But he keeps on going. He says, unlike the Hishaku, with Tobimune, I can just slay the sword bearers and spare their protectors. And he's saying like, hey, we gotta die, and I'm the best one to do it, because I can do it without killing innocent people, and that's why I'm working into the Hishaku. Uraha's arguing. He's like, hey, if you kill me, they'll be able to use Kumayuri. And Uraha, sorry, not Uraha, Mr. Samura is basically saying, hey, I don't care, I'll just kill him after, it's not a big deal. I told you, I intend to root out evil. And there's a cool little panel where he says that, and you see the crow on like the dividing board. Really cool panel. But we get some inner monologue with Uraha, and he's like, damn, I believe him. I think he probably could just take out the Hishaku with the enchanted blade. He's like, man, he is gonna kill me, and there's nothing I can do. That's what that face in that panel kind of means to me. He's just like, yep, he's got me, and there's nothing I can do about it. But Uraha, as a last attempt, he's like, hey, there's people who died trying to save me. I can't just throw my life away. Then we get to this next page, and I love this page. This page is incredible. Just in every aspect, this page is awesome. And like, first I want to point out in the upper third of the page, we see Hakuri, 2 panels of him. And he's like, this is all my fault because I transported Tobimune, but not, Kumayuri, and not Kumayuri. He's kind of blaming himself, but in between the 2 panels of him are 2 panels of just the temple being crushed. And that's just incredible paneling. Like, Hakuri is literally being crushed on the page in between all these buildings collapsing. Just extremely simple, extremely effective. And then if you look at the blue line here, just extremely simple eye flow, just all the way down, almost straight down to the page. And if you look at these red lines, that's the vanishing point in the panel where Mr. Samura is. It all converges right in the middle, basically in the direction of the eye flow. Nice 1-point perspective. Then if you look at the red lines on the bottom page, same thing. The vanishing point is right in the middle where the eye flow is going. Extremely simple, extremely effective. I love this page. Let alone like just the dynamic between Mr. Samura and Uraha, them facing each other like the almost Western standoff-esque. Like, let alone all that. Just an incredible page overall. Then we immediately get this stunning double-page spread with Mr. Samura and Uraha. I mean, that page is awesome. And some people might complain about the no background, but I don't know. I think that's a good use of no background. It really emphasizes the dynamic. Then the next page, we get to see the little jump marks from Mr. Samura and Uraha launching at each other. Nice little touch. And some inner monologue with Hakuri. Oh, also, I just want to point out the details on the trees in this page and also the previous page. Like, just the trees in this manga are awesome. I really like the way he just uses a lot of hatching. I mean, I'm not sure if that's a unique style to him. I haven't really analyzed trees in other manga. I've never really thought about it, but the hatching on the trees looks really cool. And then we get a full page spread showing the aftermath of the short little duel with Mr. Uraha all cut up with blood spurting out. And some more inner monologue with Hakuri. He's like, it's my fault. If only I'd pushed myself and transported Kumayuri when I've gone this way. And then Uraha asks while he's laying on the ground covered in his own blood, "You're going to shoulder this alone?" he says. And then this page is sick. I love the angle here on Mr. Samura. And Mr. Samura is just like, yes, nobody else has to endure this hell. Then if you look at the blue line here, this shows the eye flow. And you can see the eye flow goes from Mr. Samura, and the angle of his body just points you all the way to the bottom right, which connects to those panels with Hakuri and Mr. Samura again, then loops all the way back up to Chihiro. And then if you look at the green line, the eye flow guides you basically in a circle all the way back to that text through Chihiro. And I think that's pretty clever, because the text saying like nobody else has to endure this hell is like your eye goes through Chihiro, and then you reach back up to that line of him saying nobody else has to endure this hell. And I think that's pretty good paneling, because Chihiro is the guy who's trying to also endure that hell. I might just be reading too much into it, but I think that is kind of purposeful, because that's kind of the dynamic. Mr. Samura is putting this pressure on himself, so is Chihiro, and I think that paneling is helping like the reader, maybe even subliminally, understand that dynamic. And Hakuri, with the little energy he has left, he summons Chihiro right as Mr. Samura kills Uraha. And that leads us to the final page, I guess 2 pages. It's a double page spread, the last 2 pages of the chapter. And we finally get the title card of the chapter in the final page, chapter 58, Reunion. I really like that. Like the title isn't applicable to the end, so it's revealed at the end, build up. Simple things, but also just really nice. And this page is just gorgeous. With in the foreground, you get Chihiro, and you can see all the bubbles, and then you can see all the feathers in the background with Mr. Samura. Mr. Samura is like, "Man, you sure stink of the smell of blood, Chihiro." And Chihiro just has this like aghast and like pure disbelief reaction on his face. And Mr. Samura is just kind of looking down casually. And man, that's the chapter. What a chapter, man. Like I said, I don't know where it's gonna go. Part of me thinks they're gonna fight. Part of me thinks Mr. Samura might just they're gonna talk and leave. Maybe Chihiro's gonna fight him. My wild horse or dark horse, whatever prediction for the next chapter would be Shiba, Mr. Shiba showing up and either fighting Mr. Samura or saving Chihiro. Because who knows if Mr. Samura also thinks Chihiro should die, because he has an enchanted blade, he's a wielder. He wasn't there to commit those war crimes, but if his ideology expands further to the swords in general and anybody who uses them, who knows what kind of confrontation might happen. But yeah, I think Mr. Shiba's gotta show up, because where is he? he is, there's not many named characters, so I feel like he has to show up soon, or it just doesn't make sense. And also, my one concern for this story right now is I feel like it might be moving a bit too fast, because if I'm not mistaken, Uraha was introduced in chapter 46. So 12 chapters, we didn't get no backstory, no nothing, and he's dead. Which is fine, but if that starts happening to every character, then no character gets fleshed out. We're gonna end up with a JJK situation. And I like JJK, but it just kept getting rushed and so fast-paced that it wasn't even enjoyable at some points. But that's just my opinion. But I really wish Takeru would spend more time fleshing out the characters and giving some backstories and some world building. Because I love the action and all the art's incredible, but sometimes I just get worried because I really like the story and I want it to be expansive and good and not fast-paced battle to battle to battle. And also, that's just my personal taste. Some people like the super fast action, super fast-paced, action-packed kind of stories, and so do I. But there's a balance you gotta strike. And a lot of new manga, I feel, are a little bit too fast and don't strike that balance well. And that's my only worry. But I mean, it's still early. It's too early to really criticize anything pacing related. But that's the chapter. I loved this chapter, and who knows what'll happen next. I hope we see Shiba. He's probably my favorite character in this story. But anyways, peace out.